Looks like the sun is back out in Washington. That's nice.
But will the sun shine on the new era here where Congress discussing whether to be ready to embrace this bipartisan honeymoon when it comes to fixing the economy?
We welcome Representative Peter Roskam, a Republican from Illinois. Good to see you, Congressman. Thanks for being here. First, we'd be remiss not to ask you about financials. It really appears that they're taking a licking no matter how much optimism there is inside the Beltway right now. What need this president do that differs from what the last president did, which doesn't seem to be working on financials?
Well, I think what he needs to do, I'm not sure that he's willing to do it, but it's going to be to take on his own party, particularly as it relates to the nature of this spending that's being proposed. The president proposed $700 billion in spending, and House Democrats, I think, unfortunately, are piling on that number and are proposing $850 billion. I think we got to completely relook at TARP moving forward. There's great challenges here, but I do sense that there's a willingness on the part of House Republicans to work with the new president.
Tell us about that willingness, Representative Roskam. Where do you see it, and where will it manifest itself?
Well, I think you'll see it coming forward as the conversation moves forward, trying to drive towards pro-growth-oriented tax cuts. You know, I was encouraged that the president, when he was president-elect, was talking about tax cuts as a way of moving forward and an acknowledgement that raising taxes in this economy would be a great detriment. I think his biggest obstacle in this bipartisan tone that he's trying to set, ironically, are going to be members of his own party and the leadership in the House and the Senate on the Democratic side.
Isn't it ironic that that's what people feared, that too much power would lie on one side, the Democratic side, and now it appears that the dissension may very well come against the president from the Democrats?
Yeah, I think you're starting to see some pushback from House Democrats. And most House Republicans, their attitude is, look, we know philosophically what we think drives economic growth, and that is making sure that we're spending and spending wisely and making sure that tax cuts are substantive and that it's not just welfare recast in the tax system. So I think moving forward, Democratic leadership has signaled they really want to pile on the spending side. Look, for example, at the de minimis amount that is being offered in terms of infrastructure spending, only about $30 billion, and a whole host of other spending that arguably is unnecessary right now.
Yeah, but Congressman, I gotta focus again on financials because our country, our businesses in the United States are really built on the notion of credit, and that notion is falling apart before our very eyes. We see a 20% drop in Citi again, 28% in Bank of America. The TARP plan so far simply has not worked. How do you reconstruct the TARP plan so that it shores up credit?
Well, I don't think you reconstruct the TARP plan. I think what you do is you revisit mark-to-market accounting, which at its base is causing a downward spiral, and it's causing credit to evaporate.
Hold on a second. You mean what you are saying is that we have just wasted $350 billion. All we had to do was make an accounting change, and that would have fixed what the $350 billion is not fixing?
Well, let's accept the premise that the $350 billion has completely failed. There's no serious argument to be made that that has been a success in anyone's measure. So the question before Congress is, do you add insult to injury and do another $350 billion? I say no. At the very least, you've got to get back into that accounting thing. And it's much more than just a de minimis accounting procedure. You're talking about how assets are valued, as you know, that has caused a downward spiral. And the irony is that it could have been changed, or it could have been driven to a different conversation if simply the Securities and Exchange Commission had been willing to revisit it.
Representative Peter Roskam of Illinois, Barack Obama's home state. Surely, though, politics aside, it's a great day for you, is it not, to see this?
Look, it's an exciting day, I think, for all Americans, and I know House Republicans are ready and willing to work with this new president.
These are live pictures, by the way, just in case anybody had doubts. It is true. The president and the first lady are walking down the street, walking to the stands there, waving to the crowds. Of course, they have been vetted very carefully by an army of Secret Service and officers. Peter Roskam, we want to thank you very much for coming in. Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much.
Delighted.